Hey, Maria back with another video. It's 7:05 a.m. and I believe it's August 24th. Wow, okay, so time is moving on. So I just wanted to come on here and make this video. I got pretty early this morning. I think I was maybe on 4 o'clock this morning. So, I decided to just kind of take in the morning and then, get back to doing some housework. But I just want to come on here and make a video about, when people see you as you are. You know, I think in the past, like people who knew me knew that I like to joke a lot, and I do. I still have a sense of humor. Still kind of odd, you know what I mean? But this is who I am. I've always been that person, and the person I am now is just me attaining the goals that I've set for myself because I've always been this person. It's not like people think, oh, she's changed. No, I have not changed. I mean, I've changed in certain things that have put me in the right direction of where my original goal was, as to be who I am and how I see things. But when I was younger, I always had a lot of bullying going on in my life. And, every time I would exhibit any form of individuality, um, which is something that is essential, for people like me to have. And so anytime I showed any sense of individuality, it was always, scrutinized, belittled, mocked, whatever. And I think this is what people do, especially since they don't understand. But and I understand that when you are different, people can like wonder and ponder and whatever. But this is something that, if people feel compelled to do it, if people have to decide what brings them their individual happiness, this is important. And I think sometimes people they try to impose their views on other people, and this is what happened to me when I was a kid. The reason why I could not express myself to the full extent that I am now in the past is because I always had somebody beating me down, bullying me, and doing whatever. Now, I will say that there was a lot of things that I did when I was younger that was just, to me, I look back on it, and even I have to say, that's pretty odd. It's odd that somebody would, do some of the things that I did. But the thing is that I never really had any shape or direction, meaning like, I had a mother who was basically agoraphobic and alcoholic. She was an alcoholic and agoraphobic. And, and my dad was mostly at home. So my only point of reference was what I did on my own, and what I read in books, or just what I did on my own. So you can just imagine, I'm very grateful that I never got into anything hardcore. Like, some people can get into drugs, some people can get into prostitution, people could really go into the wrong direction. So I feel as though, I didn't come out bad. Now, I will say that because I do have a higher IQ than the majority of people, there is a form of eccentricism within me because this is just something that naturally comes along with who I am and what I am. So, I accept that in myself. And I understand that there's certain things that, I did in the past that would not be acceptable, whatever that, regardless of the age, done in social circles. You know what I mean? Mainly because, I would say, not that I ever did anything that was like outrageous or anything, but I'm just saying is, if it looked kooky or it looked odd or different, it is what it is, okay? But I think that I am a very well-behaved person, and I think that I conduct myself in a way that is professional. Now, just because a person laughs, I've seen people, I think sometimes people who bullied me in the past, they take things to the extreme, okay? Like, there is nothing wrong with somebody exhibiting their sense of humor. Nothing wrong with it. I've seen other people do it. I've seen everyone in a workplace environment do it. Anyone from a subordinate to somebody who is in a higher upper level management. I mean, if you don't have any sort of expression outside of a dry type of environment, then it's very uncomfortable. People need to be relaxed and they need to feel comfortable in their work environments. So I think some of that is a bit excessive. and a lot of times this would be initiated by people making conversation with me first, okay? So, whatever the case is, this is who I am. I've always enjoyed those sort of things. Like, I do think that people should express themselves. Everybody does have their own form of individuality. They do. Like I said before, I gave an example about, I believe I mentioned my ex-boyfriend's mother, who is nothing like the accountant over at this particular CPA place. Okay, they're different individuals. They look different. They dress different. They speak differently. They express themselves in mannerisms differently. Everyone's different. You know what I mean? And I understand that. Now, I am different for a lot of different reasons. It's not just my intellectual abilities. It's the fact that I am a black woman who is single. I mean, like, I was just thinking this morning, it's like, God, the sad thing is that I am the poster child for, like, discrimination, or giving an example of, protected work classes, okay? I am a black woman. First of all, I'm black. Second of all, I'm a woman. I am a single woman, which people are going to throw in your marital status. They're going to do that. What else? Oh, I don't have a defined religion. It's just like people don't need to bring up all my so-called differences. I have to survive in this world. You know what I mean? And, when you're younger, you tend to really believe in this idea that people will hire you based on your skills. You know what I mean? And I didn't want it to be political. It should never be political. That's one of the reasons why it's written into law, because it prevents people from existing. If you're only going to hire blonde people, well then, I understand people have their little quirky practices. I get that. I fully get it. But I mean, some people make it known, and in this case, it was pretty well known that I was being discriminated against. Anyway, when it comes to me being who I am, I accept myself, and I only want to be around people who like me for who I am, and this is who I've always been. And I know that there have been people in the past who bullied me when I was younger, and they continue to bully me. The bullies from the schoolyard, grow up to be bullies in the workplace, and but in my case, it's the same goddamn bullies, okay? And, this is who I am. This is who I am, okay? And this is who I've always been. And I would say, like, in the past, like when I was a child and when I was a teenager, this was the rough draft of who I am. That was the rough draft of who I am. Like, I've always had an interest in spirituality. I've always strived to do the best thing for my well-being. Like, I have to always think about what it is that brings me joy. And this is what the responsibility of everybody is. You don't sit here and take an aerobics class only because your best friend is doing it. I understand sometimes you want to offer support, right? But you're not going to shell out money if you're not really going to enjoy it. You're only doing it because somebody else is telling you to. And I understand that there's in this world we have the right, we must. I mean, I think in order to get along with in any sort of community, whatever, you have to be a law-abiding citizen. And I am a law-abiding citizen, meaning I respect the rules. And the rule is that we have the right to be individuals. We have the right to be who we are. Okay? And we are supposed to uphold the law so that we don't prevent other people from being who they are. So I'm in the right. You know what I mean? At 52 years old, I am comfortable, completely comfortable with who I am now. I think there's people who look at me and they think, well, gosh, Maria, you're 52 years old, you're not married, blah, 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 blah. I don't sit here and beat myself up every day because I'm not married. I don't look at that as a failure. I don't even think about those things. My main thing is to survive. Even if I was married, I would always want to keep my employment separate from my husband's. Why? Because of this issue. You know what I mean? This issue could be something extremely abusive. So no, I think that they should be, and that's written into the law. And that's not some people like me have to survive. You know, it would be stupid for me to think, oh, I'm going to go out and fall in love with somebody and move in with them when I have no support system. You see what I'm saying? And this is not me being like, oh, because I will tell you, when I was younger, I was somebody who did never supported like women's rights movements or anything like that. It's not that I don't believe that women have rights, because obviously I do, especially as an adult, right? But I never realized that women had so many struggles when I was younger. I never understood, and you know, the social expectations that they have on women. Even though, you know, I used to watch shows like That Girl, which I love that show. That was one of my things that kind of inspired me to love clothes so much. I mean, Marla Thomas looked so awesome in her clothes. She was so fucking cute, right? Anyway, cute show, and she always had her shit together. And I always believe that people should set high standards for themselves. Now, this is not me being influenced necessarily by TV. Um, because I think everybody is when they're a kid, and I obviously, as an adult, I know the distinction between what's right and what's wrong, and what's real and what's not, right? But, I always thought these were the things that I think people should do. I like these ideas. Even though I know television is like something that they present these ideas um, as ideals, exactly, because we obviously know that. Looking back on TV shows that I watched as a kid, I know that, like, for example, they got all these friends, right? And their friends are all supportive, every single last one. Okay, let's just say, for example, there's 7 people in this group, right? All 7 are supportive of this particular person. In real life, there's so much debate, and then I would say probably 90% of that group is probably not going to offer their support at all. In fact, they don't even fucking care. Okay, and the other half probably wishes this person fucking harm anyway. Okay, because this is how the social makeup usually is, right? So everything about TV is bullshit. Okay, everything. But what I did like is I knew that from looking at this Marlo Thomas character, as well as Elizabeth Montgomery and all these other people, I will say that I loved clothes from the fucking time that I saw it, and I loved it. I loved all of it, and I think that that's a part of my personality. This is who I am, and I think sometimes when you choose certain things in your life and you gravitate towards those things. As a kid, obviously, I remember I had siblings. My sister would try to shame me for, me looking nice. You know what I mean? Maybe in her mind, because she was influenced by my mother, that a woman taking care of herself is a bad thing. In fact, my mother hated herself because she let herself go. She hated herself for that. You know what I mean? And my dad knew that. And it was like, that attitude and that behavior, thinking that way and encouraging your kids. I don't think my mother sat us down and told us, you're supposed to gain a bunch of weight and sit around and do nothing and complain and then harm other women who care about their lives and who still want to live, who still want to thrive and still want to go on with their lives. And like that's a bad thing. But in my mother's mind, even though she never communicated it, in everything that she did, she displayed that. In everything, because she hated herself. She really fucking hated herself. And she showed that in every action. There would be women that she would see, and they're not even doing anything. They're just like walking down the street, talking or whatever. Look at them, blah, 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 blah. I mean, she had nothing but hate in her heart. Nothing. And I understand, and people sometimes think that when a woman takes care of her body, that number one, she's doing it because she wants male attraction. That's not true. I believe that the body should be in balance. It should be, to me, it's a spiritual principle, and to me, it makes sense. To me, it makes sense. Now, I understand, like, now we have this, fat acceptance movement. And, I understand that some people, they say they're comfortable being, overweight. And you know what? If that's what they choose to do, then that's what they should choose to do. Okay, the problem with the fat acceptance movement, from what I've experienced, is that I knew a girl, and I'm not saying everybody has this attitude, but this girl was basically, she came up to me, it was like around, I don't know, 2012, right? She came up to me, and she was overweight, and she said that I didn't like fat people. And she felt as though people who took care of their bodies were somehow being fat shaming, or being showing that you're fat phobic. And no, I am not afraid of fat people. But I will say, unfortunately, that because some people have this desire to inflict their will and desire on you, that they sometimes feel as though you, by having your own personal set of choices and values, they demand that you be just like them. And in this case, I feel as though I've been bullied, because somebody feels, this is how a lot of people who are overweight feel. They can't, if they're really happy and they accept themselves, that's fine. But you should accept the fact that not everybody wants to, and they take it personally, like you're striking it against them. Okay, the only phobia that I have with people who are overweight with that attitude is that they try to bully you into accepting the lifestyle that they choose. That's your body. You choose to do what you do with your body. I have the right to do what I want to with my body. You know, and people should not be shamed for that. Body shaming is a bad thing, okay? And this is what I accept for myself. And this is what I've always accepted for myself. But I, unfortunately, as a child, I had people who, discouraged it, did not support it, did not like me for it, hated me for it, resented me for it every time I made an attempt to change my life, because I lived in a family who did not care about those things. Okay? I mean, my dad did. I mean, he was kind of overweight, but he did, and he always talked about it, and, he did what he could, but, he would always talk about it, but he never really made any, steps to change that. Like, he would talk about how if you eat hamburgers all the time, then it's going to send you straight to your grave. But you know what? He would bring us hamburgers like every Friday. Not just one, two. You know what I mean? And, this sort of attitude that they had. And I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong. Okay, it's wrong. It's wrong. I knew it was a kid. See? So because back then I knew, and now I'm an adult over the age of 18, and it's my turn to do what I want to fucking do. This is my life. And it's always been my life. And this is who I have always been. I know when I was younger, taking on spiritual interest, I know Jehovah's Witnesses is pretty wacky. I get it, okay? But as a young kid, for somebody who was born with an understanding, knowing that there was a higher being, okay, I knew that. And nobody even had to tell me that. So it was my way of seeking and finding, or trying to find answers to something that I already kind of knew, but I just wanted to have all that information to fill in the blanks, and that was available at the time. And I was spiritually hungry, so I took it, at that time. Now, but this is who I am, and I believe that people have the right to do and live their life how they want to. Mind you, there are certain guidelines that we have to adhere to, which would be the law. Okay, and the law says that I have the right to do what I want to because I am not harming anyone. I'm not harming a darn person. You know what I mean? I think overall, I can't say that I am a great person. I have my faults. I will never say that I'm perfect. But I think that I came out to be fairly decent, considering the fact that I had very little guidance in my dysfunctional home. Very little. And they might claim, the opposite. Oh, we did this no, you bullied. You bullied. You know what I mean? If you feel like, this is another thing I think is so funny on TV. Like, I watch these TV shows, and it just pisses me off, right? And I watch TV shows only for the fact that I enjoy the fact that I like to sit there and pick it apart, because I just like looking at all the bullshit. Like, you'll see this person, and they have, like, for example, they're going downhill. They're making bad life choices, right? Instead, they'll come together. Their friends are all concerned. Every single last friend is concerned, right? Every single last friend is piled into this person's house, giving them one of those interventions. This is so cheesy. It's so cheesy, right? It's cheesy as fuck, right? So anyway, they're giving this person this intervention, and they're telling them how much they love it. And they're all these groups of people are getting all teary-eyed, like, we care. And in real life, nobody gives a fuck, really. You know what I mean? But anyway, it's the I'm getting off the subject. It's the it's just the fact that if a person feels as though a person needs constructive criticism, then this is what you do. You have a one-on-one conversation with that person. You know what I mean? And you tell them, these sort of things, and you give them direction. Unfortunately, I never had any positive direction. Like I said, my ideas of women were based on, number one, based on things like whatever I read in books relating to spirituality, and like the Bible when I was younger, and of course, books that were pretty much written around, I would say, the turn of the century kind of got me interested. So this is who I am. This is the woman that I feel I have always been. This is who I've always been, and this is the way I have the right to be as an adult. You know what I mean? Like when you're under the age of 18, and you're living in your parents' house, your personality is your personality, but sometimes people are not allowed to express themselves based on certain rules and guidelines in a household, and at that time in my life, I felt pretty restricted, and my family is just extremely, my ex-family, they are extremely narcissistic, and they do not understand boundaries, and they do not understand the rights of human beings, and they feel as though that they could force a person, like literally, I don't know. They don't understand. Like they don't understand the complexities of each person and who each person is as an individual. They don't understand that because they don't have the ability to. It never occurred to them. You know what I mean? It's just they're in their mind. Everything is just like black and white. It either is or isn't. And that shows a sign of extreme ignorance. You know what I mean? Which doesn't surprise me because when I think about the person who shaped and molded that family unit, it really shouldn't surprise me at all, So I was thinking a lot about, my mother, because I really didn't get a chance to say goodbye to her. And then when I did, the last time I did speak with her, the conversation was pretty heated, so... do I live with guilt with that? I'm going to say no, not really, because I feel as though my mother should have told me what the hell was going on. I mean, this is a form of tragedy, though, because I do have this sense of, like, this issue of not being closure, that would have been nice to have that closure, but, my mom is dead now, and I do think about her sometimes, and sometimes I do remember the cute things that she used to do. Like, I mentioned having my stuffed animals talk, my mother used to do that, and she was really good at it too. Meaning, like, she would make the little stuffed animals say things to make it all cute and make it fun, and that's something that still to this day, I still think that. I enjoy, like, puppet shows and stuff like that. This is not a form of immaturity. It's actually a very sentimental thing that I think is very precious, and it's enjoyable, I figure as long as you pay your bills and you're not hitting anybody, you're respecting and you're minding the peace, I think that's all you really need to do to be a good citizen. You know what I mean? But I think really if a person wants to be a good citizen, they should focus on their individual happiness, mainly because, why? Because when people are not happy, they do lash out at other people. You don't see happy people fucking with other people. They just don't fucking do it. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I mean, I have never really attained any level of happiness in my life. I've had moments of contentment, meaning like, but like happy, I don't know. I wonder what happy is sometimes, but, I think mainly the reason why I deal with issues of not having happiness is because, I've had so much bullshit in my life. And I do, there's not a day that goes by I don't think about years that were wasted. That I could have had a better life, had this not happened. So yeah, I get angry. I get angry because of the bullying and the inability for me to do things that I really wanted to do. Because I've had people who felt like they had some sort of right or whatever. That kind of religion scares me to death. It scares me to death because it's so warped. It is a cult, and I remember saying that when I first started making these videos. I started talking about what a cult was, and I know people are like, "Oh, we're not Mike Manson, we're not like that." But what I'm saying is, it was an abuse of authority, and it was obviously done to it's a form of hate crime. Is basically what it was. It's a hate crime. But anyway, hey, I don't feel like inadequate in any way. Meaning, like, I don't feel like because I'm not like people around me that I feel like I should do what I have to do to fit in. You know what I mean? People like me, and that's just everybody though. People, you either click with people or you don't, and we click on certain levels. Like, for example, yesterday I had to go to the court, right? Because I'm removing the original court filing against my ex-boyfriend's sister and his mother. Not that I don't think that they deserve it. I mean, I don't think they should be punished if they fucking were a part of this abuse thing. But my issue is I want to drop it and I just want to move on. You know what I mean? But I did go yesterday, and there was a girl who helped me, right? And I don't know this girl, but the exchange was polite, right? So on a level, like, I could see this person every day, and I can be polite to her. Now, does that mean that she would be my best friend? Maybe not. But I understand that I don't feel like she's a threat to me. I don't feel like she would harm me. I, in turn, would not harm her. So this is just an example, okay? And there. But does that mean that we have interests that are similar? Maybe not. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that she's going to attack me and I'm going to attack her. So this is just how you get along with people. True friends, like close friends who really support you, are very rare. And I think that's why I think TV is so funny, because, like, oh, they have all these fucking friends, and every single fucking friend cares about them, and every single last fucking friend is crying when this other person has a problem that is not going to affect them in any fucking way. And it's funny to me. You know what I mean? I do. I mean, I was watching some, like, really fucking dumb episodes of this one show. I got bored. I was on Facebook, and I don't really go on Facebook very often. But I was just looking at Facebook. I was in the last few days, I was on Facebook. I was just watching these old episodes of just, like, ridiculous shows from the 90s. I think this one was, like, Who's the Boss, which I fucking hate that show. And this is one of the reasons why I hate that show, because it's cheesy. And then I started watching old episodes of Silver Spoons. Oh, I just wanted to, like, just wanted to wring his neck. I hate that show. And I hate TV, period. And I don't watch TV. You know what I mean? And I know that's another thing that puts me apart. I am who I am. You know what I mean? And I'm always going to be different from other people. I'm going to. You know what I mean? And it's not something I do deliberately. I don't sit here and go out of my way to, like, I don't look at what the neighbor's doing and say, oh, I'm going to do the opposite. It doesn't work that way. It's just, you know what? I am who I am. And I always feel as though I have good reason to be who I am. You know what I mean? And the right people will come into your life if they're going to. And if there's meant to have a harmonious relationship with people, then that's what you do. Then you have that harmonious relationship. If not, then you know what? You have a polite exchange. You know what I mean? If they ask for something, then you have these polite exchanges. But the exchanges should be equal in measure. Meaning, like, for example, if a neighbor feels like they're going to help me with my car, I in turn will offer them some form of compensation. You know what I mean? It's a polite exchange. I'm not going to sit here and try to harm a person. I'm not going to gossip about them. I'm not going to, I don't care if this person's Catholic or if they whatever, it doesn't matter. I am never going to harm a person. I respect their right to live. I respect their right to have peace. And I give them peace by not creating chaos. Okay? I would do that, show the same respect to a member of a Ku Klux Klan group. I would do that. If I lived next door to a Klan member, I would still show them the respect that they deserve, as long as they're not their mind. I remember there was this dude when I lived over. What was it, Cal City? Was it Cal City? No, it was when I was living in Roseman. There was this dude. He had this like swastika on his leg, and he was talking some shit. And then I smacked his ass down. I just fucking gave him a tongue lashing. He never forgot. And the next day he comes out and he's like, "Hey, you need help with your car?" I'm like, right." But you know what? We had a pleasant exchange right after that. He never caused me any other trouble. And he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. You know what I mean? But if he starts causing me some shit, then we're going to have an issue. You know what I mean? Because I do respect, even though a person may not like my race, they may not like the fact that I'm a single woman, they may not like whatever, okay? But as long as they are not harming me, meaning they don't need to gossip about me, they don't need to sit here and try to, they don't need to do those sort of things. You may not dislike, you might dislike certain things about another person, but you should understand that you do not have the right to obstruct them, harm them, or whatever, affect their lives in any way. And if you feel as though they're on the right track, wrong track or the wrong path, then you have a constructive discussion with that person. And you better have good reasons why you feel as though they're on the right track. And why does that have anything to do with you? That's the first question you should ask. And if you ask that question, that's the first question you're going to ask yourself, then you probably wouldn't bother having the conversation and following that up with that person anyway. Because, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's nothing to do with you. I think some people might, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to go into that, so much of that. But, yeah, this is who I am. These are my beliefs, these are who I am, and this is what I believe in, this is how I express myself, this is what I do in my life. I'm Maria Gordon, and this is how I've always been, and I feel as though the right people will come into my life, and if it means that I have to live my life, the rest of my life alone, because I don't find my tribe, well then it's better not find your tribe than be around people who are going to abuse you. This is facts, people. You know what I mean? That's just how life is sometimes. So I'm going to wrap up this video. I'm going to try to get some things in order and continue on my life's journey somehow. Wrapping this video up. Take care.